Hello everybody, welcome to this Verbling class. My name is Amy and this is a class as part of my Best of British Culture series. Today we're going to be looking at a bit of history, which I haven't done before, but I found an interesting thing about some British peoples, and that's basically the people who lived in Britain in historical times and how they've sort of, I don't know, contributed to how Britain is today. So I think it's kind of interesting. It's going to be mostly a reading and speaking class, so we'll be practicing our reading and our pronunciation as well as discussing the topic. I think most countries have got some kind of influence from the people who used to live there in ancient times, or maybe not so ancient, but before in history, and how these people have shaped our countries, what they have contributed to our current culture and society. And I think it's going to be a fun class. Hopefully we get some people from lots of different countries so that we can all share our experiences and our ideas about this topic. So before we get started, we'll wait for everybody to get here, and I'll just let you know about some things that might help you out a little bit with your experience here on Verbling. So the first thing is my teacher Facebook page. You can see that link there in the chat box now. It always seems to cut off the end. I'm not sure why, but it should be Verbling Teacher, not Verbling Teach. You can check out my Facebook page just to get in touch with me and see what's going on. I often do post things that are relevant to some of my classes. You can leave comments about the classes that we've had and see some cool stuff over there. So if you have time, do go and check out my Facebook page. The other page that I would like to tell you about is my Verbling Teacher page. Which is basically where you can find out a bit more about me that might help you with booking classes and possibly private tutoring. So you'll see my calendar on there, which will give you an idea of when I'm available for private tutoring if that is something that interests you. And you'll also see upcoming classes, what they're going to be about, so you can take a look and see if there's anything that you think looks cool. You can also write me a message. If you do have any questions, then write me a message on the messaging system and I'll get back to you. And if you do click on the blue follow button, what will happen is that you'll be automatically notified of my classes, so that can be something that you might want to do, so you don't have to keep coming and checking back every 5 minutes on the website. Okay, so with all that behind us, what we're going to be doing is, as I mentioned before, a reading and speaking class with the theme the peoples of Britain. So we're going to be reading something and then using that to talk about our own cultures and countries as well as the UK. If you want to find out a bit about the UK as a place and our culture, then do check out the other videos online in my Best of British Culture series. They all start with the title Best of British Culture, so they're hopefully easy for you to find and search for. And if you do have any requests that you would like to see in this series, then let me know. So let's see who we've got today with us in the class. Let's say first of all hello to Luis. Or maybe I'm saying his name wrong.
Hello, teacher. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Am I saying your name correctly, Luis?
Luis.
Luis, okay.
Luis.
Where are you from?
I'm from Barcelona.
Ah, okay. A beautiful place. You lucky thing. Is it nice there at the moment? Is the weather good?
Yes.
That's wonderful. The weather where I am is now cold, so I'm very jealous, Luis. And I haven't met you before, have I? So it's nice to meet you. Tell me, why are you studying English?
Because one of my favorite hobbies is study languages. I am studying English and Italian because also I need to study languages for my job.
Okay, and what is your job, may I ask?
I am working in sales department an Italian company. The sector, optical sector.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And do you also speak Catalan? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah. Catalan is my native language, yes.
All right. Okay, so you already speak, well, 4 languages. You're working up to 4 languages, Luis.
Uh, you,
right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I said because you already speak Catalan and Spanish, right?
Ah,
And
yes,
English
yes.
and Italian, so 4 languages.
Catalan, Spanish, Italian, English, and a little bit French.
Oh my goodness, you're amazing. All right, well it's great to have you.
I speak good only my native language Catalan and a little bit Spanish. Other language I don't speak good.
It
I
sounds like
don't
you
speak
speak
well.
English well. Well, you're learning. That's good.
Okay,
Welcome to the class. It's very nice to meet you.
nice to meet you too.
All right, so who else do we have? We have David.
Hi, Amy. I'm glad to meet you. How are you doing?
David, I can't hear you very well. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, hi. How are you doing?
Oh, how are you doing? That was an easy question. I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm tired now. I was
Oh,
running.
mhm.
I'm very tired, but I'm okay. I will be focused on the class.
All right, excellent. And are you a runner? Do you like running? Do you do it all the time? Or was it a one-off?
Yes, yes. I run 3, 4 days per week, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I consider myself an amateur runner.
I am I can't speak this morning. I am an admirer, David, because I cannot run. But it looks like it would be so much fun. Maybe if I put some more effort in, I could do it, but I'm very impressed. Well, it's
But
good to have
I
you.
have never tried to do it.
Maybe I should try. Maybe if I work up slowly, like start with just really short run.
Yes, it's like a drag. The beginning is very hard, but when you are fit, you feel great and you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be, maybe I will try that, David. Maybe it will be my goal of the winter. So I'm in New Zealand right now, so it's actually winter for me. And maybe this will help cheer me up throughout the winter months. I will consider it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Welcome to the class. And we have another David. So, David, who I've just spoken to, where are you from?
What, David? Me or the other?
Yeah, you, because we've got two now, so I need to know
Yes,
your
I'm,
country.
I'm from Spain. I'm from La Coruña.
Okay,
Uh, have you ever been there?
I haven't. I've never been to La Coruña, but I would love to travel around Spain and see different parts of it because it's so diverse. There's so many beautiful things to see there.
It's one of the most beautiful cities in Spain.
Is that
So I
right?
definitely recommend you to come.
Thank you. Well, I will do my best, David, honestly. So we have David
Okay.
from La Coruña, and we also have David from, I believe it's Colombia, although please correct me if I'm wrong, David, the other David.
Yeah, you're right, teacher. Colombia.
All right, phew, that's a relief. How are
Good
you,
morning.
David from Colombia?
I am doing well, teacher. How are you?
Good, thank you. Have you had a good day?
Uh, yeah, so far, yeah. Good day,
Excellent.
good week.
A good week? Excellent. Well, it's only, what day is it? Monday?
No, good weekend. I said weekend.
Ah, okay. A good weekend. All right, good. But, good to feel positive about the week. Welcome to the class. Always good to have you, David. And Raphael, hello.
Hello, Amy.
How are you? How's your weekend been?
It was okay. I just stayed home.
Just
Sick.
stayed home and relaxed. Oh, you were sick. Oh no.
Yes.
That's not a good weekend.
I'm cold. I'm still with cold and sneezing all day long. Sneezing and coughing.
Ooh.
And I'm still, but I'm better.
You're better? Well, I lived with a Japanese chef for a little while. It was amazing because she was cooked amazing food. But she taught me a soup which I use every time I get a cold. It's garlic and ginger soup. and it's really easy to make and really yummy, and it cures colds, I tell you. So look it up on the internet, Raphael, and see if you can, if you get sick of your cold, have some of that. You'll be better in no time.
Okay, could you type the name of the soup?
It's in the chat box. Garlic and ginger. Basically, that's
Okay.
what it is. It's just garlic and ginger, and then you add like whatever things you like, vegetables or something, maybe a bit of meat and soy sauce. It's really delicious, but cures colds every time. Except for the fact that it's not good to kiss anybody afterwards because there's a lot of garlic in it.
Okay.
Just as a warning, okay? Don't make it for your girlfriend. Okay.
Okay.
Alright guys, so today we're going to be reading. I'm going to give you the link here. And what we'll do is we will read a little bit about some of the peoples of Britain. This is quite a cool website, another BBC website, because I'm a big BBC fan. And you might want to check it out after class if we don't get through everything today. But we're going to read a little bit, and then what we'll do is talk about our own country. So we have Spain, Colombia, and Brazil, which should be interesting. If you don't know anything about the history of your country, then you're going to have to use Wikipedia to help you, because I'm going to be asking you some questions about it later. So take a look at this. I'll just read this quick intro for you, just to get started. So Simon James, that's the writer, asked just who were the Britons, and did the Celts ever really exist? Uncover the fascinating ethnic and cultural history of the peoples of Britain, spelled incorrectly, and assess the impact of the many invaders of Britain's shores. So, because we have a confusion about the words Britain and Britain, they're pronounced the same, but Britain with an O is a person from Britain, which is the place. Britain with an AIN is the place. Just so that we get that cleared up before we start. Can be a little bit confusing. Because of the nature of our country, it's got combined of 4 parts. So we've got Scotland, England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, excuse me, and Wales. So it's called several different names. So we've got the United Kingdom and Great Britain, and then some people just call, sometimes I say I'm from England rather than, you know, the United Kingdom, so it can get a little bit confusing. But hopefully we'll be able to understand everything. So, who am I going to ask to read? I think I'll ask David from La Coruña. If you could start reading. What I will do, guys, is to let you read a little bit. I'll stop you and we'll discuss any pronunciation issues if you get stuck. And then we'll talk about vocabulary so that everybody can follow. So if you'd like to start, David, from here, please.
Okay. Introduction. The story of early Britain has traditionally been told in terms of wave of invaders displacing and annihilating their predecessors. Archaeology suggests that this picture is fundamentally wrong. For over 10,000 years, people have been moving into and out of Britain, sometimes in substantial numbers. Yet there has always been a basic continuity of population.
Keep going.
The gene pool of the island has changed, but more slowly and far less completely than implied by the old invasion model and the notion of large-scale migrations. Once the key explanation for the change in early Britain has been widely discredited.
Thank you. Just pause there, David, because I don't want to take in too much at once. If any of you have vocab questions, I'll ask you in just a moment. But well done, David. Great expression in your reading. There's been a couple of tricky words for you in here, so let's talk about them quickly. This one here is actually annihilating. Do you want to repeat that? Annihilating.
Annihilating.
Yeah, so the H is basically silent, really, but it splits up the 2 I's. So you have an I and elating, annihilating.
Okay.
This one here is predecessors.
Predecessors.
Perfect. This one is continuity.
Continuity.
Good. And the last one is discredited.
Discredited.
Great, well done. Okay, so let's ask if anyone has any questions about any of these words. Do we understand what it's saying, everybody? No? Are we all familiar with all of these words?
I don't know the word annihilating.
Annihilating. Mm-hmm.
Annihilating. Yes. I don't understand this word.
No problem. Let's see if anybody else can explain it. Does anyone know what annihilating means?
I mean, if to kill with no mercy.
Yeah, basically. That's perfect, David. Thank you. It basically means to absolutely kill everything in sight, so there's absolutely nothing left. So these people, they would invade the country, kill everybody, and then start living there, right?
Oh, okay. Thank
So
you.
that's the traditional history, but this guy is saying actually it's not that true. So are there any other words, guys? No? Okay. What I'm going to do is get you guys to give me a little quick summary of what we've read. So who will I ask? Luis. Could you tell me what have we learnt so far? What's the rough idea or the gist?
The test. This test describe the history of Britain, the people who come in and come out.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep, that's absolutely right. So the first paragraph tells us that perhaps the traditional history that we always hear about isn't totally true, and that people have been entering and leaving Britain for over 10,000 years. And then it talks about this. So the gene pool of the island has changed, but it's very slow. So there's still lots of genes. Do we all know what genes are? The part of the body, like the really tiny part in your DNA, which makes up who you are, right? Decides what you're going to be like, well, originally, and then you grow up and choose things. Okay, so let's continue reading from Substantial, and I'll ask David from Colombia, please.
Yeah. Substantial genetic continuity of population doesn't preclude profound shifts in culture and identity. It is actually quite common to observe important cultural change, including adoption of wholly new identities, with little or no biological change to a population. Millions of people since Roman times have thought of themselves as British, for example, yet this identity was only created in 1707 with the Union of England, Wales and Scotland.
Keep going.
Before Roman times, Britain was just a geographical entity and had no political meaning, and no single cultural identity. Arguably, this remained generally true until the 17th century, when James I of England and VI of Scotland sought to establish a pan-British monarchy.
Thank you. Great reading, David. Really well done. Just one little note. This sometimes happens with Spanish speakers, because we pronounce this word here biological, not biological, right? Biological.
But
But apart from that, really well read. Okay, any vocabulary words? No? Everyone okay?
yeah, adoption of holy, meaning
Holy.
yeah.
What does holy mean? Anyone know? It's not this other word. I've put two words in the chat box there with very similar pronunciation. So the first one, wholly, basically means totally or completely. So it comes from the word whole, right? W-H-O-L-E. Totally or completely. And the other word, holy, is something sacred, right? That's the H-O-L-Y. So totally new identities or completely new identities. Any other words? No? Alright, let me ask if someone, let's ask Raphael. Can you give me a quick bullet point list of these next two paragraphs, Raphael? What's it telling us?
As what I understood from the paragraph is that they are not really sure about changes in culture. They there are several people that consider themselves as a British people. They are not really sure about they weren't really sure about the identity of British people.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's pretty much it. So what it's basically saying is that the idea of Britain used to be just to do with its geography, right? Just because of the land and where it is. And it wasn't actually until the 17th century that we created the political version of Britain, i.e. this United Kingdom thing where we all have the same government. But people still considered themselves British because they were from that area. And within it there were lots of different cultures, which there still are really. So let's just have a pause because I want to ask about your countries, guys. Do you know a lot about the history of your country, and can you tell me when it became the country it is today? Does anybody know? Has it always been that country, or when did it suddenly become, for example, when did Spain become the Spain we know today, and when did Colombia and Brazil become those countries? So I will ask David from Colombia first of all. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Colombia?
Yeah. Well, the history of my country starts when the Spanish people come to colonize here. Was basically when Cristobal Colón discovered or found the new continent, America.
Yep.
And the Spanish people find here new treasures. They found a lot of gold, so they they will very interested in take this gold from the indigenous people from here. So they came and they teach Spanish to the indigenous. They taught Christianism, Catholic religion, and yeah.
All right. So, and yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about what was there before the Spanish came in a moment, okay, David? But you obviously very well informed. Thank you. That was interesting. Because I've studied Spanish, I know a little bit about the history, but I always like learning more. So, Raphael, tell us about Brazil.
About the history.
Yeah, when did it become the country we know today?
Brazil was discovered in 1500, and it was a colony of Portugal since then until 1889, when the Republic was proclaimed. So throughout this time, it was a monarchy. It's a colony of Portugal. There was a king, and the time went through, and the Republic was proclaimed, and what else? There, so we didn't have enough. We didn't have many territorial wars like there has been in Europe.
Yeah.
But we had some conflicts, mostly between Brazil and Argentina when there was a huge land in the south part of Brazil. When these two countries fought, and at the end, no one could. There was no winner in this fight. That whole region became another country as Uruguay, and that's it. And the mostly, generally speaking, it was when the Republic was proclaimed in 1889.
All right, wow, I didn't know any of that, Raphael. I've learned a lot in that last 5 minutes. Thank you. That's very interesting. And I did not know that was how Uruguay came about either. So, very cool. Okay, let's ask Luis. Luis, tell us about Spain. Tell us a little bit about Catalonia as well, if you wouldn't mind, since you're from Barcelona.
Yes. The history of Catalonia is like a history of United Kingdom. The first population is are the Romans, the Roman Empire. Like Latin countries. We are a past very I don't know how to explain this.
You're doing great, Luis. Keep going. Just try to think. If you can't think of the words that you need, try to explain around it as much as you can. Try to just use the words that you know. So keep going. You're telling us great. So it was started off with Romans, right? Then what happened? Roughly. This isn't a history test. It's just a bit of interesting information for those of us who don't know much about the history of other countries. Maybe David, you can help out. What do you know about? I know a little about the history of Spain, but more sort of like the. I'm not really familiar with what happened in Catalonia, so it's interesting to me. So Luis, tell me what happened roughly after the Romans.
After the Romans, I don't know. I don't know how to explain this.
No problem, Luis. No problem. You've done great. So it's, I think, quite complicated, isn't it? History is very complicated generally. All right, let's ask David. David, what can you tell us about the history of Spain in general? Help Luis out a bit.
Yes. Okay. As Luis said at the beginning, we were, I live in Galicia, in La Coruña, is the northwest of Spain, and we have several ancestors who came from Britain, from Great Britain or United Kingdom. So we share culture only in that corner of Spain. But in general, in Spain, as you said, we were part of the Roman Empire, and when the Roman Empire broke down, Spain was divided in several kingdoms, several small kingdoms, Catholic kingdoms, but each one was focused only in himself. So, 1,000 years ago, more or less, the Arab Empire conquered almost all the Iberian Peninsula, and after that, the Catholic forces reconquered Spain, and all these kingdoms were united by a successive marriage. Elizabeth I of Castilla and Fernando from Aragon. In the official history that you and me probably study at the school, this is the beginning of Spain as country. Galicia and Catalonia has our own identity and our own history, so sometimes we dislike to be included in Spanish history as a country, because we think for example, we have our own language, our own culture. So the official history for us is the beginning of Spain is when Elizabeth of Castilla get married with Fernando from Aragon.
Yeah.
500 years ago, more or less.
Yeah. Thank you, David. That was a really great explanation. Do you have anything else to add to that, Luis? Do you agree with David there, what he said?
Yeah, yes, I agree with David. This point of view, inside in Spain, there are three little countries with our history, our language, our culture, and for example, the Catalans, we are a little bit tired with yes, and we to make a referendum to vote to go out of Spain.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm aware of that, Luis, and I think it's an interesting class that you guys have come to, especially because of this. And there's quite significant parallels between my country and your country in this regard, because well, Scotland at the moment is trying to do the same thing, and it's interesting how quite a few countries are made up of maybe lots of little different countries. So you guys have Galicia and País Vasco and Catalonia, and we have Scotland and Wales and Ireland. So yeah, interesting how there's similarities between it and how we're connected. So we sent some people over to you, and you sent some people over to Latin America where Rafael is, and we'll just say hello to, my screen is frozen, it's very irritating, so I can't actually see who your name, Ahmad. Hello.
Hello, Amy. How are you?
How are you? I'm sorry, my screen keeps freezing, so I'm not in control of it. But welcome to the class, Ahmad. Have you been following us?
Unfortunately not, but I think you are talking about the beginning of the country, probably.
Yes, yes, we
Something
are,
like
pretty much, or the beginning of the country that we now know.
mm,
So tell me, where are you from?
I am from Saudi Arabia.
Wow, okay. I have a Saudi Arabian boy living with me at the moment. So
Really?
I've
Hmm.
learned quite a bit about your country, yeah. And I've tasted kapsa quite a few times.
Quite heavy meal.
Yeah, but nice. Okay, so tell us, could you tell us a bit about Saudi Arabia? When did it become the Saudi Arabia that it is today?
I think I'm not sure. In 1950 something, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. The name of Saudi Arabia, the name of Saudi, is the name of royal family.
Uh-huh.
hmm but I have no clue, seriously, how it became like this. But what I'm sure about, I mean, this family, they started from the middle of Saudi Arabia, where there is a place called Najd. So they were like a tribe from there
Uh-huh.
who lived there. Yeah. I don't know what happened exactly. Like you can say like it is probably uh, like the same in UK probably. Like there was area in the middle, area in the east, in the west, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and they become like united. I guess I'm not sure.
All right, well, that's great. I mean, considering I know none of us are historians, and I certainly am not either, but I think we all know roughly what happened in our country, so that is good. Now, what I would like to do is to continue reading, but I can't get my screen share to work. What I'm going to have to do, guys, is leave the class just for a second, because everything's frozen on me. I will be back in 1 minute, okay? So I'm very sorry to have to do this, but I can't continue with all of everything not working. So I will see you in 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
This is very weird and uncomfortable.
Okay, guys. Thank you for bearing with me then. Everything seems to be working again now. Now, I just wanted to mention that I think it was David from Colombia was talking about Cristobal Colon. And in English, his name is Christopher Columbus. So I just wanted to point that out for those of you who weren't sure. But thank you for sharing that. We're going to read a little bit more. So it's now Luis, your turn to read from throughout, please.
Throughout recorded history, the island has consisted of multiple cultural groups and identities. Many of these groupings looked outwards across the seas for their closest connections. They did not necessarily connect naturally with their fellow islanders, many of whom were harder to reach than maritime neighbours in Ireland or continental Europe. It therefore makes no sense to look at Britain in isolation. We have to consider it with Ireland as part of their wider Atlantic archipelago, nearer to continental Europe and, like Scandinavia, part of the North Sea world.
Thank you. Great reading, Louise. Okay, just one thing to point out. This is the same as David with the word biological. So Often when we have an I in English, we pronounce it like that, I. So we have identities.
Identities.
Yep, this one's
Identities.
maritime. Maritime.
Maritime. Maritime.
Yep, and this one's isolation.
Isolation.
Yes, exactly. So apart from that, beautiful. Just remember that in English we pronounce it I rather than E usually. Okay. Any questions about vocabulary, guys?
Yes. With their fellow islanders, many of whom
Mm-hmm.
uh,
The word. Yep. What's your question?
whom is like who in plural? Whom?
Okay, so the difference between who and whom is actually not to do with plural. It's to do with whether the thing you're talking about is the subject or the object. So because they are harder to reach, we have to say whom. Although, to be honest, in normal English, most people don't use the word whom. You have to be really up on your grammar to say whom. So most people would probably say many of who were harder to reach. Yeah, it's to do with the subject and object. So maybe I'll find you a little explanation of that and get you to look that up. So, because it's probably just something that can be a little bit confusing. And it's not to do with plurals. All right. Any other questions? No? All right. I will give you a link to that at the end of the class. Louise, was it, I think, who asked? And we'll continue reading just to find out a little bit more. So the first peoples, Raphael, could you read from the arrival, please?
From the arrival of the first modern humans, who were hunter-gatherers, the first Britons were an ethnically mixed group, following the retreating ice of the Ice Age northwards. The beginning of recorded history is a period of about 100 centuries, or 400 generations. This is a vast time span, and we know very little about what went on through those years. It's hard even to fully answer the question, who were the early peoples of Britain? Because they have left no account of themselves.
Keep going, Raphael.
Uh, we can, however, say that biologically they were part of the Caucasoid population of Europe, the original physical stereotypes familiar to us today, a pattern widely thought to result from the post-Roman Anglo-Saxon and Viking invasions. Red-headed people in Scotland, small, dark-haired folk in Wales, and lanky blondes in southern England already existed in Roman times. Insofar as they represent reality, they perhaps attest the post-Ice Age people of Britain, or the first farmers of 6,000 years ago.
Thank you, Raphael. Great reading. Just one little phrase just back here in the first paragraph you read. This sentence here. And we know very little about what went on through those years. So what went on is grouped, and so is through those years. Okay?
Okay.
So what went on is referring to the things that happened. And then through those years is the time. That's why we have to split them here. Okay?
Okay.
Apart from that, really great. So anybody have any questions? Is there any vocab or grammar that we don't get here, guys?
Yes.
Okay, tell me, Ahmed.
Yeah, okay. The word from the post-Roman Anglo-Saxon.
Post-Roman Anglo-Saxon. Let me just see. Here we go. Okay, those words there are a bit confusing. So Roman, I think we understand. We know who the Romans are, right?
Yes.
Okay. Post, what does post mean when we use it like this as a prefix?
Before?
Yeah. No. Sorry.
After.
It means after.
Okay.
Yeah, ante usually means before. There's several that mean before, but post always means after. So after the Romans, and then the Anglo-Saxon is simply a race or an ethnicity, or I'm not exactly sure which word is
Yeah,
correct to use
like
there.
root or something like that, yeah?
Yeah, so
Mm,
it's another type of people, and so are
I
the
see.
Vikings, right? I think we probably know they're quite famous, the Vikings.
Yes.
That's all. So that's straightforward, really. Any other questions?
I don't understand the mm, where is yeah, lanky blondes, lanky blondes.
All right. So blonde is the color of hair, a hair color like yellow, but we don't say yellow. We say blonde, right?
Yes.
And yep. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry.
No problem. And lanky is a word that. Well, does anyone know what lanky means? No.
Mm,
Lanky.
probably. I'm not sure. Is it like scruffy?
No, it's not scruffy.
I thought.
No, scruffy's a good word though. Lanky basically means sort of long-legged with long arms and long legs. Sort of tall, not particularly shapely though. It's not a particularly attractive word. It's not a very complimentary word. If you're lanky, it means that you're tall and have long arms and legs. We usually use it to describe like teenage boys. You know how teenage boys suddenly grow really tall? We would say that they were lanky for a little while before they sort of shape out and fill out. So it's a body shape, basically.
Maybe Peter
Okay.
Crouch is a lanky boy.
Peter Crouch. Who is Peter
Crouch
Crouch?
is a soccer player.
Uh, Probably, but I'm not good with soccer.
He's
Sorry.
very, very tall,
Uh-huh.
very, very slim.
Yep, that would be lanky. Yeah,
He's a
absolutely.
giraffe. A giraffe.
A giraffe. Yeah,
Mhm.
kind of. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Raphael. Just to point out, I've put a link about who or whom there in the chat box. So if you do want to learn a bit more about that, read that blog post from Grammar Girl. She's pretty cool because this is something that trips up native speakers as well. So that's why she writes her posts. All right, so we'll just say a quick hi to Yassine. Are you there, Yassine? No? All right. Well, if he does come, just do say hi to us. So we've just been talking about the different, I don't know, the different peoples at the early history of Britain. So what I would like to talk about now is, if we can, a little bit about the peoples who were present in your country at the very beginning, or the earliest people that we know were in your area. Maybe it wasn't your country back then, but in the area where your country now is. So let's ask David from Colombia first of all. David, can you tell us a bit about like the original native people of your country? Do you know anything about them? Are you there? No? All right, David's gone to get a coffee. Let's ask Raphael. Raphael, tell us about Brazil. What can you tell us about the original native peoples?
It's a mix of races,
Mhm.
cultures, ethnics. Firstly, there was when the Portuguese came in the beginning, there were, there were the indigenous people living
Yep.
here, and they they shared the culture with with the Indians and the population increased since then. Afterwards, in 18th century, there were a lot of slaves come from Africa. So 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 there are a lot of Afro descendants since then, since the 80s. At the end of around 1900 or a little bit earlier, they started there lots of people from other countries like Germany and Italy, mostly living in the south part of Brazil. Then and also Japanese came by that time. And nowadays it's a mix of cultures and lots of people. Lately there is a lot of Chinese people coming from to live here. So it's generally speaking, it's a mix of races and culture.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is amazing how history affects everything, really, isn't it? And how it changes everything, and how connected we all are. Let's see if Yassine is there. Yassine, are you there? No? Okay, I'll go to Ahmad. Ahmad, can you tell us who were the people who lived in Saudi Arabia originally? Can you go back in history? Do you know anything about it?
I can talk about the west part of Saudi Arabia, where I am from. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because I'm not far from. I don't know. Probably you have heard about two holy cities, Mecca and Medina. Yeah, those two people came from all over the world, especially who are Muslim, to like perform one of worshipping called Hajj. So yeah. So that means it is multicultural because some of them who came before earlier, they settled there, and that that's why it is a mixed.
So is it just mixed in those cities, or would you say all over Saudi Arabia is
No,
mixed?
not all over Saudi Arabia. I mean, in the yeah, I mean at the beginning, let's say 1,000 years from now or something like that. Not thousands, probably 1,000. Yeah, 1,400, something like that. Yeah, years ago. Yeah, people used to come. Not used until now, but I mean at the beginning. I mean where I am in the west, especially. Yeah, it is multicultural.
All right, okay. And would you say that there's a difference in the culture now between the west part of Saudi and the other part? Would you
Well,
notice a difference?
yeah, a little bit because let's say for example, the in the middle of Saudi Arabia is mixed now because the capital city. Yeah, there. But I mean, before, for example, before Saudi Arabia was created, for example, I don't think people came to Saudi Arabia because no sign of life was there because lack of friend and lack of everything you can say. I mean, people don't come, for example, for tourism or something like that, or visiting or relaxing. Yeah, the weather is hot.
It's very hot and dry, and they were like, why would we want
that,
to go there?
that's yeah.
All right, that's very interesting, Ahmad. Thank you. So let's go to David and Luis. You've told us a lot about the different areas of Spain and the people there, but could you enlighten us just a little bit on what it's like now? So obviously Spain's going through a bit of a tough time economically. Is immigration happening? What's the most recent thing? Do you have lots of people from other countries can you tell us a little bit about that? I'll ask David first of all.
Okay, 10 years ago, we have a lot of immigrants, especially from South America and Africa, looking for a better job. But nowadays, almost every immigrants have returned to their countries, and we, as 60 years ago, are going abroad to find better, better jobs, better lives.
Yeah.
It is such a shame because, in my opinion, the most important or the most part of people who is going out is people who went to the university, people who could develop this country into a better country. Scientists, software engineers, all these kind of people is going out to the country. So for us, it's a bad news. It's bad news.
Yeah,
Very
you're losing your talent.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
and your education. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that, David, because actually where I am now in New Zealand has a bit of the same problem. Just because it's a very small country, there's not a big economy, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that young people, when they come out of university, want to see some other parts of the world, and a lot of them leave. And it's a big problem that we have here. So it's interesting. But yours is more related to the economic situation, I think.
Yes, economical and political. We are very tired. We are very tired of our politicians. Today, our king announced he doesn't want to be king anymore. He wants to be retired, and
He
the new king will
abdicated.
be yes, and new king will be his son. So perhaps this opens a new epoch in Spanish history. I don't know.
Well, I guess we will find out. Is there anything you want to add to what David said, Luis?
Yes. In Spain, there is unemployment about 26%, and for this reason, young people need to go out and
To leave, yeah.
to live. Yes, yes. And in general, is unemployment 26%, but the young people has unemployment about 50%. It's a dramatic situation.
It sure is, and I'm very sorry for poor Spain. It's in trouble at the moment, but it's still managing to carry on. So hopefully it will improve. I really hope so. Well, I'm gonna have to finish, guys, because I've got a class straight away now. I'm gonna have to go to. If you're interested in having another speaking class, we're gonna be talking about something totally different. The idea of coincidences. So if you want to come along to that class, you're very welcome to join us. But thank you for your participation in this class. It was very interesting. Some great English. Check out the chat box for my comments and suggestions. And I hope to see you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy.
Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.